Oh man, way to get bummed out. Like, I'm all, yeah, okay, cool, I'm gonna go play some Final Fantasy X. Log in, and then all of a sudden the sad music hits me, and I realise, oh yeah, we're at this part of the plot. Helly de Sadwe, everybody! Welcome to another video. I have a little bit of a story, I guess, for you guys, but let's just start moving straight away, okay? Actually, I'm gonna cut. Amazing. I'm gonna cut straight away, just because I want to do some sphere grid stuff. I'll see you, you guys in a second. Alright, there we go. Guess what, guys? We're out of ability spheres again. Fantastic. But everyone's moved quite a lot. We leveled up a reasonable amount. It's surprising, actually. If you do spend most of this game fleeing, you'll find when you do manage to kill those bosses, it's really rewarding. They give you a whole ton of sphere levels. Khimari's still in his big central area, I suppose. Pretty cool, actually. A bit of a reminder. Last episode, at the end, he started talking to us. I had this weird thing where I kind of wanted the series to be like, oh yeah, I'll try talking to Khimari for ages, and then I'll just give up, and then it would be like, oh, he's talking. I don't know, I love that moment. It's funny, I've mentioned this idea that I'm like writing a story. Oh here, check it out. So Lulu's got some more black magic now. So she's got Fira and Watara. These were the two abilities, 2 of the 4 that Seymour had, but she's not unlocked all of them yet. Guess what? Because we don't have ability spheres, so yeah. But yeah, it's funny. I've already said that this game, so there, she hit over 1,000, has like influenced me in ways that I didn't realize. But like, some of you who've watched some of my other videos might have noticed a while ago, actually, if you listen to the podcast, I was talking about the fact I had like invented this mute character for my story, and then eventually like you might be able to find out he talks or something, and I'd completely forgotten, honestly, in my time away from this game, I'd completely forgotten that for the starting areas of Final Fantasy X, Khimari is a mute character. Like, I just completely forgot about it. You know, really, we're not that far in the game. We're certainly not over halfway, so in memory, I can totally see why I would have forgotten about something like that. So there's ton for Wakka to do here. In theory, he could sleep attack this Fungwa over here, and then he could start attacking these. But since Lulu can guaranteed one-shot it anyway with some magic, we may as well just have Wakka go crazy on some of these guys. And so now, what the hell was that, you might think? I just shattered that guy. Really, really awesome. Let's bring Khimari in, I guess. See if he can maybe lance it this thing. He's not on Lulu's path just yet, so he's not going to be doing very well, but we'll make him lance it. So yeah, he just shattered that enemy. This is because of the TKO, that big, really amazing weapon we bought for Wakka just before Operation Mihen started. It was sort of in the middle. There you go, Khimari can't hit him, which is a shame. Sort of in the middle of all the story stuff, but it is really important. It's a fantastic weapon. I will probably only ever unequip this on Wakka for underwater sections when lightning strikes amazing, and otherwise for the rest of the game, this guy will just be a boss. Now Wakka can not only one-shot a lot of flyers, but he can also hit a lot of other much bigger, more intimidating enemies and just destroy them instantly, as we will see rather shortly. So there's a guy here. He says that the Crusaders have been ordered to regroup at Djose Temple. Not many left to regroup, but yeah. He says, it's my fault. My men died in vain because of me. It's all my fault. My sergeant's keepsake. Take it. So this is actually one of the earliest examples of a character you can get an item from, but you have to speak to him twice to get that item. So this is a weapon, I believe, for Tidus called the Variable Steel. And you'll notice that it's got a bunch of empty slots on it. So it's got strength +3, and then there's a bunch of the other slots with nothing in. So the Avenger, by contrast, this other weapon we bought from Wakka, just has counterattack. So anything on Tidus that just tends to have a lot of slots and nothing amazing in one of them, like just strength +3%, will end up being called the Variable Steel. And in fact, an item with 4 blank slots is worth tons of money. We can't customize weapons yet in the game, but that will be a mechanic we deal with later. And you'll notice the Brotherhood is actually slightly better than Variable Steel, but yeah, that's worth mentioning. So we'll move on and speak to this guy here, or we'll get in a battle. So here's my story, okay? First of all, I have to explain, there's still that weird audio noise. Currently, I'm about to upload the episode today in Kilika where I first mentioned the like static noise, and I wonder whether any of you guys are going to start pointing it out and say, oh yeah, I thought I could hear something. It really winds me up in the editing. Really winds me up. But there's nothing I can do about it. What can I say? You know, it's just one of those things. I bought another cable. This was like the other half. I did all that preamble before the last session where I was playing when we did that Blitzball stuff. And, you know, I mentioned, oh, I lost my notepad, blah, blah, blah. I bought another cable in the hopes of trying just the slightest chance of getting rid of the static, and it's still there. So, do you know what? I'm saying screw it. and it's just going to have to be this horrible thing about the LP. It's sort of like this LP's version of the coughing that we had with Azuric. So, yeah. Anyway, that's one thing. Hey, you speak to me. He says, as followers of Yevon, we would believe in aiding all those who are wounded. Whoa, look, Klasko and so forth just ran past. That's awesome. He says, we would believe in aiding all those who are wounded, even the excommunicated Crusaders. They've suffered so much. I believe the time has come to welcome them back. May Yevon's blessing be with you. So, yeah, this is pretty cool. Andy gives us a high potion. They were excommunicated. There's something about the plot here that I think isn't described to the players very well. The Crusaders are no more. You'll hear a few of them mentioning vague things along those lines, but the Crusaders, this like 1,000-year organization or whatever the hell it was since Lord Mihen created them, they have been wiped out. They were excommunicated and most of them are now dead. It's pretty brutal what really happened here. So he says, a heartbreaking defeat. It was Yevon's blessing has spared us. Sure. And then he just repeats his dialogue. So, yeah. I mean, it just goes to show that the people of Yevon are... I mean, the Maesters did sort of endorse it, and even though one of them thought it was never going to work, but it was a chance, right? We've decided to rest at the temple. I just hope that they let us. We've been excommunicated after all. They might throw us out. Oh, I almost forgot. There are fiends here that petrify humans. Where this, it should help. This is really important. I will say the Djose High Road, which is where we are right now, is probably one of the most uneventful areas of the game. You know, it's just a somber walk. By the way, when you equip gear that would lower someone's health, so currently she's got a red ring on, right, which gives her health plus 10%. So if I swap to something without that, for some reason the game decides to warn you that this will lower your health, as if it deems health is the most important stat somehow. And I'll have some discussions on that towards the end. But yeah. Anyway, yeah, so this is just sort of a somber walk along this road, right? You know, there's actually not that much that happens in the story here in this game, or even in the second game, frankly. So we just got this soft ring, protects us from petrify. Very handy, since frankly, we just came across one of the enemies that petrifies us. I showed you guys this a while ago, back before Operation Mihen even began. So there you go, I tried to cast Sleep, it just blew it up. Look how powerful this thing is. It's amazing. So these are the basilisks I demonstrated to you guys before. I also told you you can lance at them to learn a skill. There you go, I have now done that. So now not only can Waka petrify people, but Khimari can too when he has his overdrive. We're still at a point in the game right now where people aren't charging their overdrives very quickly. But, you know, that will change soon enough. I might actually grind off screen, not sphere levels or anything, but just Khimari so that he can get his overdrives and stuff a bit better. But, yeah, so I kind of don't want to show Stone Breath to you guys on this dude, because I think he's immune to it anyway. So let's, I don't know, let's do Jump. We haven't jumped for a while. And there you can see he takes double damage from lightning attacks. There's Stone Gaze. Now, so yeah, this area of the game isn't actually very significant in story. Not too much happens, but I would say it is definitely the first place in Final Fantasy X. You can be surprised by how difficult it gets. Because of this petrification, and I'm hoping I don't get unlucky while recording for you guys. Let's just attack. Yeah, he's still doing significant damage. We'll try Wartara here as well.
Go with the flow.
There you go, enjoy that. You're only going to say that the once. Eventually, once she unlocks Thundara, we'll get that too. In fact, I should really be using Extract ability right now. But yeah, not much happens in the plot, but it's quite deadly here. You can get ambushed by multiple of those basilisks and really hurt. There's a hidden chest just here. Do be careful of that. There we go. Okay, yeah, I've just managed to go and get my guide so that I can actually see where everything is. And yeah, so also right behind this pillar next to us is an Albed Primer you want to be careful of. Pretty much every single character in this entire region will give you an item, so you do want to talk to them. There's absolute tons of them. But yeah, we may miss the odd one or two, but I'm not going to be too worried about that. So here, we'll use Extract ability with Khimari on this, which should kill it. And he shouldn't counter with Pollen. There you go, it's down, awesome. So, my story, okay, the coolest story. I just went to go get my guidebook, right? And you might be wondering, well, okay, sure, you paused the game and went to go get it. I've actually been tempted this entire recording to just walk off and get it. Why, you ask? Because I am currently standing up. Like, 100% stood up. Usually, obviously, while I'm LPing, pretty much every video I've ever made, I have been sat down doing my commentary. But, so the other day, I was looking into the idea of standing desks. And, you know, with what I've been doing these past couple of years, right? I live a very sedentary lifestyle, and it made me realize, if I really think about it, I'm sat down an awful lot. Even, I would hazard most, like, office workers in the world are sat down a ton. Like, what do? You walk to your car, you sit in your car, you walk to your desk at work, you're sat down there, you walk around maybe for a bit at lunch, you're sat, like, and even I think back when people are going through school, you end up sat down a lot. I remember when I used to work in a bakery, I was shocked by how much it made my feet hurt just standing up for hours and hours and hours at a time. And I really haven't experienced that for a while. So I was looking into standing desks, and there's all these things about like health benefits of being stood up a lot. And I realized I actually have like a chest of drawer that I could just drag over to my PC. And it's like the perfect height for a standing desk. So that's what I'm trying out. Basically, I have not sat down while using the computer for a fair while now. And it's killing my feet. I've got to be honest, it's killing my feet. But it completely changes your perspective. It's really weird. And I guess as well, with like recording and microphones, it's nice to be able to enunciate a bit more. Anyway, so this guy says, my comrades are all dead all because we ignored the teachings, relying on a forbidden machina? What the heck were we thinking? This will hardly make amends, but I want the Lady Summoner to have this, obtained in ether. So these people feeling guilty, you know, they should be thankful that they're alive, but survivor's guilt is just a huge thing. I guess it's time to seek the monk's help and embrace the teachings once again. I mean, that's quite full on. Auron's little theory about why Wen endorsed it, just so that people would be reinforced in their belief in Yevon. I don't know. I mean, look at this guy here. He's praying. So, is this the pillar? No, it's actually not. So we'll just keep progressing a bit further forward. This guy here, we'll have a chat with. Alright, there we go. So I got ambushed in that fight too. And that's going to happen a lot, as I say. And do consider as well that extra weapon that I never bought from Awaka, the one for Auron, that had initiative. So that directly counters mechanics that they're introducing to you in this area of the game. This guy says, we incurred heavy casualties in last year's Djose Coast defense operation. But even those losses don't compare to this. So that... it's actually really kind of cool. So this guy says, I found this lying on the battlefield. Maybe it will be of some use to you. And he gives you a mega potion. That's pretty sweet. All I can offer now are my prayers. And he does the full pray before we can speak to him again, I guess. So what he's saying here, they incurred heavy casualties in last year's Djose Coast defense operation. This tells that Operation Mihen had actually been in progress for well over a year. Remember that Chapu died? Chapu died just a year ago, and in Kilika, Lulu said, when Waka was like, oh, yeah, maybe Sin doesn't kill people, maybe they just pop back like 1,000 years later, yeah, and she says, unbelievable, you just keep making one excuse after another. Sin didn't take Chapu anywhere. Sin crushed him and left his body on the Djose shore. That's where we are now. So Chapu died fighting for the Crusaders, related to this exact thing here. The defense operation, you can take whatever you like from that. Personally, I like to believe that this time last year, because they knew they wanted to set up an ambush here, they wanted to defend it for whatever reason. Were they fighting Sin directly? I guess what Waka makes it seem that way. But, you know, that's the story, that Chapu died so that they could unleash this operation today. And look at where it got him. I have definitely missed an Albed Primer now that I can see we're at the end of the road, so I'm going to have to turn around in a second. So a couple of new enemies here. I will let you guys see them. This is a Bunyip. Not particularly impressive. That guy over there is obviously a Snowflan. We'll meet Snowflans again like way later in the game. And like our new version of like a wolf here, a dingo. What's kind of cool about this area is there's a really rare enemy, like these birds. And there's nothing special about them, they're just really rare. But there's one specific area of the Djose High Road that if you're standing there, you can get an awful lot of like encounters with them. And that's nice at the end of the game when you're doing some of the like side quests where you have to capture monsters. So I don't want to go into too much explanation about monster capturing, but it's a big side quest. It pretty much encompasses most of the end game in Final Fantasy X, you know, side quests, optional stuff you can do. So I guess it should go, I should really explain. The way many of these games are structured, okay, is you have like your main story and you're pushing through like we are here. But when you get to the end, like you hit the point of no return, you find this area. If you progress any further, you're going to maybe do a big long dungeon with a boss at the end, and then the final cutscene will trigger and the game's complete. So at that very end moment, you tend to find in Final Fantasy games that there's a bunch of other stuff you can do around the world by revisiting old areas you've been to. And Final Fantasy X is no exception to this, but particularly for the original American release, I would say it was very lacking in endgame stuff. One of the biggest things for its endgame was this idea of a big hunt around Spira where you're capturing monsters. And capturing monsters, for the record, returned in Final Fantasy X-2, only the international version, and it's insane in the international version. Basically, in 10.2, any monster or enemy in the entire game, even like regular characters, you can capture and have as playable characters. Like, no word of a lie. Basically, one thing that really disappointed me about Final Fantasy X-2 when I first played it was that you go from Final Fantasy X, where there's loads of different characters you can have in your party, and in X-2 there were only ever 3 characters you could have in your party, but then for International X-2 they changed that completely, and they said, alright, you can have pretty much the entire game as playable characters. Honestly, it's crazy. You might have certain understandings of the way that 10.2 works. You might be like, oh, so-and-so isn't a character in the second game. And it's like, oh, no, they are a character in the second game, but only international and if you do certain things. Anyway, there is a very good reason for my backtracking here. Do bear with me.
I'll take you all on.
It's one of the better hidden Albed primers in the game. Maybe you spied it originally. Let's swap Tidus in here. But yeah, so, you know, I think it's quite interesting the way they structure these games. So here, look, here's the Albed primer. You can only see it right there in that corner of the screen, hidden behind this pillar for a brief flash of a moment. So that's volume 11. I do believe we are 100% here right now. Let's just have a quick look here. Yep, so we've got every single one. I think I may have missed a chest just over here on the left as well. Oh no, I did grab that chest. Okay, so that's pretty much everything. We'll just run on to the end of the high road now. I'll see you guys in a second. Actually, kind of one discussion I think that is sort of worth going into, based on, you know, about Final Fantasy X and particularly like its end game. The idea of having all these side quests and stuff, right, at the end of the game, it's like to break up the linearity of the experience. And I would say traditionally a lot of Final Fantasy games weren't particularly linear. Like, they had a linear story, but the whole way through those games, you had a lot of options for different places you could go to. By the way, that's the bird, and that's what counterattack looks like. It just crit. It did crazy damage. We'll use extractability there. So, like, many of the original games, they had their linear story, but there was always a lot of branching you could do as you were playing, and that was mostly because all the Final Fantasies before this one, before 10, had something called a world map, which was like you'd get to a certain point in the game and you'd end up on like this big field that represented the world map, except you were walking around. You know, it was a really specific kind of, I would say definitely a hallmark of the Final Fantasy series. Let's try and use it on the Basilisk here. So, the Final Fantasy X disappointed a lot of people. They felt that the game was far too linear compared to previous installments in the series, just because it lacked a world map. And I think maybe there is some merit to what people say there. Even in many of my videos, there's been that discussion around. I don't want to risk attacking with Khimari there, so I'm just going to pass. Oh, I should have at least attacked the Basilisk. I'm an idiot. So, you know, I think there is some merit to what people are saying, that because Final Fantasy X doesn't have a world map system, it's far less linear. But I don't know. In a lot of other ways, you know, what was the world map? It was just, oh yeah, you can run in big circles and stuff before you go to the next town. It really wasn't that different to what we're experiencing here. It's just that what we're experiencing here kind of feel like long-ish corridors. But I maintain, honestly, FF10 does have a lot of branches and it has a lot of opportunities to backtrack and see weird things that hopefully this LP is demonstrating to you guys. You know, one of the most recent Final Fantasy games, Final Fantasy 13, one of the biggest criticisms I personally have at it is this idea that the entire game is just long corridor, cutscene, boss. Long corridor, cutscene, boss. And, you know, this game does lean towards that. I can see it, especially compared to old ones. But it's not like what I think many people, and certainly some commenters on the videos, I think I'm a bit more conservative about it. Anyway, we spent way too long here. I'm sorry. All right, I'm going to start cutting. Now, one thing about petrification is that if you as a player are petrified, you won't shatter unless the enemy has another type of move called a break move.
Hey! How much longer till Xanarkand?
Still a ways.
First down the Moonflow to the Guado city of Guadosalam. Then we cross the Thunder Plains to the Temple of Makalania.
Oh, boy.
And before that, we get to pray at the temple in Djose.
We can't just skip all that, can we? Huh?
I have to pray to the faith in every temple in order to earn the final Aeon.
That's a summoner's training. She's got to prepare mind and body, all just to get ready for the final summoning.
Must be tough, Yuna.
I'll be fine with you here.
Oh, she's so cute sometimes. Look at the distance we've come, guys. Look at that map. Temple of Yevon Djose. They do that for 2 temples in the game. They're the Temple of Yevon, blah blah blah. But yeah. Where was Orin in that scene, by the way? Kind of weird. Where's he
Hey,
at?
new guy.
Me?
Who else?
What can I do for you, boss?
Don't tell Yuna you know about Sin and Jekt.
Huh?
You know her. She would distance herself from you. We do not want that.
I see. I think. Yeah, but even if I did say something, no one believed me, you know?
Yuna would.
Ah, you have a point. Come to think of it, did I really have to know about Jekt? What about my feelings?
Better than you finding out at a critical moment, becoming emotional.
What? Me? Emotional?
I heard you were quite the crybaby.
Yeah, maybe when I was a kid. Maybe even a little now. Just a little. Hey, I still don't buy your story, you hear?
Oh, I love the writing there. Just the Yuna would. And you're like, oh my god, she would. Think about every scene. She instantly bought that we were from Zanakan. She instantly bought that the 2 Jekts were the same people. And, you know, that's got its good sides and its bad. I also love that Auron clearly demonstrates he has always been in control. He's like, yeah, you know, I told you straight away because you would get emotional about it. And even the idea that Jekt had told Auron that Titus is a crybaby. And he just, I love it. I love it, I love it, I love it. All right. So anyway, we're going to go to a new temple. It has been a while, guys, since we've had a new Aeon. Since we've spoken with one of the Faith. There's Auron up there. And we're very close now to our next one. And hopefully these things will get a little bit more powerful, right? I mean, geez. We're going to fight Sin. Seymour had a pretty badass looking one. Hey.
Yuna, it is good to see you and your companions are well.
Yourselves as well, Captain. We were worried. Praise be to Yevon.
We escaped with our lives, but our troops were decimated.
Of all our chocobos, only this one made it.
We make pretty poor chocobo-mounted forces without chocobos.
We turned our backs on the teachings and cast away our faith. This is our just reward.
They kind of do a weird story arc here. Can I speak to these guys before they move on? No, I guess not. Usually you can't. They do kind of a weird story arc here. Like, I'll talk about the narrative in a second a bit more because I think I have some pretty interesting thoughts on it. But this whole bit where, you know, these guys, yeah, they survived the encounter. First of all, these are the Chocobo Knights. We saw in the cutscene that clearly the Chocobo Knights were the ones on the beach that got disintegrated. Forget decimated. These people were destroyed, and these guys somehow survived. But yeah, they're going to be sort of familiar faces for a little while longer with us. You know, many of the people we've met on our adventure, we've parted ways with now. But these folks, they'll be hanging about just a bit longer.
So many died in vain. It was a mistake. So many died in...
Yeah, I hear that.
It's just you now, but don't worry, we're here for you.
Alma seems like she has a kind
We should
heart.
never have ignored the teachings.
Everyone's just saying the same thing, right? Everyone. And there's the Chocobo.
We should...
And we can't actually interact with the Chocobo. So there's these little monkeys on the bridge here, by the way. I don't know if you can see them anymore. I guess they've just walked off for now. But they're called squatter monkeys. Also, one of the cool things I like about this little road here, this tiny bit, is just looking up the river there. Again, this is one of those things where the aspect ratio for the HD remaster gives you a bit more of a look at some of the distant areas we never got before. Something very cool here, a reference to past Final Fantasy games.
Is that the Djose temple?
Oh, and we're actually in control. This always catches me out. We're actually in control right now. It's one of those cool moments. Enjoy this again. It seems most temples have got a cool moment at the start.
Awesome.
I feel like there should be a CGI cutscene for this bit. Just throwing it out there.
The Lightning Mushroom Rock. It only opens when a summoner is addressing the faith.
That means another summoner's already in there.
Another summoner?
What if it's Donna?
We have to hurry.
Right. You in we go.
I love the way he says that. What if it's Donna? It's a cool thing. So this is called the lightning mushroom rock that the temple's inside. So, like, geographically, where are we right now? I thought Mushroom Rock Road was an area off the side. Sorry, it's not Kiyomi, it's just a regular one. Off the side of Djose. It's kind of interesting. This whole area seems to be very mushroom rocky. And Djose is a term that applies to something much different than what you might expect. And it'll be just an episode or two before I really explain it. It's kind of one of those cool lore things that this map is teaching you about that you would never get on a regular playthrough. Anyway, another cool little thing to point out about this area. You might have noticed, it's a shame that it just scene transitioned there because it would be really cool if I could get a further back look. We'll go back along. If you noticed, especially in that cutscene, you might want to rewind if you didn't. The shape of the temple in there is kind of looks like a person. It's sort of humanoid-ish. And so this is actually a reference to something that appears in many Final Fantasy games, a summon named Alexander. Now, I can tell you straight away, there is no Alexander in Final Fantasy X. It's not a summon here. It's actually, as far as the franchise is concerned, a relatively new summon. I believe the first game Alexander was ever a summon in was 7. And then in 9, it was a really big, important plot point. But basically, Alexander usually appears as this giant castle-like thing. In some of the games, it's set up to be really, really crazy powerful and really awesome summon. But so Final Fantasy X basically has a reference to Alexander just in the architecture of that temple, where we will get a summon, but it's not going to be Alexander, unfortunately. Maybe somewhere in the lore of Spira there is such a summon, but the Faith here will not give us an Aeon named as such, or that looks like a giant friggin' lightning castle thing. So yeah, there's a few things that we can do here. There's actually a chest over on the far left, just hidden away down there. As is there another one, but let's speak to these guys here.
I would pray for those fallen in battle. But how? How can I enter the temple after what we have done?
I don't think... the thing is, like, they got excommunicated, sure, but they never assaulted Yevonites, right?
The monks said we could stay here for a while.
I mean, these people just got
This
nowhere.
little fella's finally calmed down. We won't defy Yevon. Never again. We won't.
Sure, over here.
The monks of Djose have kindly offered to heal our wounded. Yevon still looks out for us. Even now. Will Yevon forgive us?
It's funny how people's minds change like this, right? At first, like, Yevon was just calling everyone the bad guys, and now that they've died, and, you know, they've just suffered even further setbacks, and all of a sudden it's like they're just flocking back to them, and all of a sudden they love Yevon again. It is weird, and on some, like, level, a bit... Is nefarious the right word?
I've been thinking about the future. No matter what we do next, we're going to do it for Yevon, that's for sure. No matter what...
Okay, and he just repeats that. Everyone's singing the same tune here, guys. So the other chest that you can grab is over here, desperately trying to not trigger a cutscene here. So, in this temple, we will find many of the wounded from Operation Mihen, and namely this guy here.
Luzu, he's...
Where is he?
I found him, but he was torn in half.
That idiot!
What do I do now? I can't do this. I'm going back to Besaid.
So, Luzu died. Like, he full on did die. You can actually see his body.
He's... Luzu.
Okay, and he repeats that. You can actually see Luzu's body in here. You'll see him in the background laying, and you can even try and interact with him, at which point the monk will tell you, sorry, we can't, you know, you shouldn't come any closer. So there you go, he's stopping us, but you can see Luzu's body down there. He says, the wounded are fighting to stay in this world. We've done all we can. They must not be disturbed. So that's his body. You can see there's a chest back there too. Later on, we'll be able to grab that chest, so don't worry too much. But I actually made the decision in this Let's Play to kill Luzu. When we were up at the precipice and we could speak, as an option, I will say, to Gatta to, you know, and we could give him some input in what he should do, you're actually making a decision there which character will live and which character will die. If we had encouraged Gatta to go down to the front lines, when everyone would get attacked, Gatta would have saved Luzu's life and sacrificed himself. And so you can decide which of these two characters die. If I had told Gatta to go down there, it would be Luzu alive right now, and Luzu would be telling us about how Gatta had, you know, done this great thing for him, but now he was alive and now he was lost. So how did I make that decision? I actually made the same decision on my test file too. I think in terms of the story, it makes most sense for Luzu to have died. You know, it's kind of morbid to say, but I like the idea of the story being that, you know, Luzu has this Waka, I may have no more opportunity to tell you this, and he tells him about Chapu, it's all laid on the line, and then, you know, he's obviously tragically cut down, and that's going to affect Waka as a character in a big way. I think that makes the most sense. And I also like the idea that you've got this young, enthusiastic guy, Gatta, who, you know, he just wants to fight and he wants to do all this stuff, and his life is spared, but he sees the horror and the destruction of this battle against sin, and, you know, the death of his mentor, and he's, you know, he'll take to heart everything Luzu ever taught him, and he will grow to be a stronger character for it. So I like the way the story comes out if this is the guy that died. I think it just makes the most sense, and in fact, if you don't speak to Gatta at all, I believe this is also the way it happens. If you choose to influence things, then basically you're choosing to have Gatta die instead. And it's one of those things, you know, it's like that like psychopath test thing, where people say, okay, there's a train running along a track, and it's going to kill 5 people, right? But you can press a button to divert onto another track, which is just going to kill 1 person. So what do? And you can take like the utilitarian approach and be like, oh, we'll press the button. But there's a lot of people out there as well who say you shouldn't press the button at all. Because if, yes, you're killing 5 people by not pressing the button, but by inacting, by not doing anything, you're like not held responsible. If you press the button, you are guaranteed the guy that caused this to die. So sort of what I'm saying is, by doing what I did there, it's almost like we didn't do anything at all, and it's not our fault, if that makes sense. So anyway, that's a really interesting thing about this game. Obviously, one of them dies, so they're limited in the story they can do with these characters now. So they sort of fade away a bit, but you see them again at the end of the game, whichever one, you know, survived and what they've been up to and so forth. But yeah. So this lady here says, I'm sorry, but our beds are all taken by the wounded. You can stay if you don't mind sleeping on the floor. Would you care to rest? I'm going to rest. Just because I like these. Listen to this. And we're back. Okay, amazing. A little tutorial thing there. We don't have to deal with that. Does she have anything interesting for sale? Let's have a quick look. A fencing saber. No, nothing. Alright. So let's head on out. And let's head on into the Temple of Yevon Djose. Hey, Oren.
So you're a champion of Yevon now, Braska?
So this is the first temple that we've come to where Oren is here.
So you're a...
He's repeating his dialogue. And so, yeah, he's going to be really surprised. Remember what we saw when we first came to Besaid? He said, oh, yeah, we've had the monk guy told us, yeah, look, we've got all of these statues of high summoners, and finally, 10 years after it happened, we have got a statue of Braska. Last time Oren was here, he spent 10 years in Zanarkand with us. Last time he was here, Braska wasn't one of these statues in these temples as they went to pray. He was just another guy, another summoner on his pilgrimage. It'd be pretty interesting, and I love that they put that line in there, because that is what Oren would be thinking of.
I beg your pardon, but may I ask your name?
I am Summoner Yuna, from the Isle of Besaid.
As I thought. The daughter of Lord Braska. You have the look of your father.
My father? You knew him?
No, I have never met the man. Ah, my apologies. I am Isaru. I am a summoner, like you.
I'm Pase. Pleased to meet you.
And I'm Maroda. I'm guarding my big brother here.
Since I was a child, I've always looked up to Lord Braska. I wished I would someday become a high summoner like he was. You must have some of your father's talent in you. I believe you might someday defeat Sin.
I'm not really. I've only just become a summoner.
Of course, I've no intention of losing either. So perhaps we should race to see who can defeat Sin first, no?
Very well then. I accept your challenge.
Isaru!
Yuna, I beg your leave. Good luck to both of us.
Yes,